knows how you come across somebody once in a while you shouldn't have messed with. That's me.
I am not an African American.
You're an Oreo cookie, white in the inside and black on the outside.
I don't have an afro, I have an Amerifro.
Talking that idiotic stuff you talk about, I would slap you.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Black as the ace of spades, but 100% American.
Heard around the world by everybody and their mama. The Jesse Lee Peterson Radio Show.
I have with me in studio, Stuart Beckman, chairman for the Greater Los Angeles chapter of Americans United for Separation of Church and State, and national affiliate director for the American Atheist Incorporation. Stuart, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming in. I absolutely appreciate it. Just to get a better understanding about you, because we're going to talk about the nativity themes and around the country, and the fact that Christmas is under attack right now by the atheists and others. Have you always been an atheist?
No, I was raised in a Methodist household growing up.
Really?
Yes.
And then what happened? What caused you to become an atheist?
I think it was simply learning more about the world, learning about other religions, other faiths, learning about the history of a lot of religious things. And I came to the conclusion that a lot of the faiths, that a lot of the value, not the values, but the myths of the faith I had been raised in, no longer resonated with me, no longer fit for me.
Really? And so were you raised by father and mother?
Yes, my parents never divorced.
And both believed in God?
Yes.
And so while growing up, did you think at one point you believed in God?
Oh, yes.
You
yes,
did?
Absolutely.
And was life good at that time when you thought that you believed in God?
Well, my mother was a church organist, and so we went to all the church services all the time. So I got 3 or 4 different
that would
flavorings every Sunday.
Yeah. How old were you? So you don't believe that there is a God?
That would be correct, yes.
Really? So at one time in life you believed that there was a God, there is a God, and now you don't believe he exists at all. At what age and what caused you to stop believing? Exactly what caused you to stop believing that there is a God?
Well, there was no single moment in it. It was a kind of an evolutionary process. Is that an okay word for me to use? It was a kind of a gradual process where pieces kind of fell away as I grew older and thought about things and dealt with other experiences in my life.
And how old were you at the time when you changed your mind about God? There is a God.
Well, it's interesting. I started having doubts probably before I got out of high school.
Really?
But everyone I knew was a Christian and believed in God. So I kind of held it to myself. Thought there's something wrong with me. There's something. Obviously, I'm not getting about this Christianity thing, and so I kind of held it in for a long time. It really wasn't until I was probably almost 40 years old before I found other people who had the same kind of doubts as I did and realized there's a whole community out there that doesn't feel like we're mentally ill or in some way, and came to the same conclusion I did. And so I really didn't identify as non-Christian or non-religious until almost my 40th birthday.
Really? And so did you talk to your parents about this? Like you had this doubt that there was a God? Did you talk to your father or mother, or both about it?
Well, my mother had died by that point.
Oh, okay.
So, but I did talk to my father about it.
And what did he say?
It's really interesting because I had grown up thinking both my parents were so religious, and when I came out to my father and said, I had doubts here, and I really can't say that I subscribe to the Christian faith anymore, he was like, it never worked for me either, but I just thought I was impolite to talk about it.
Really? That's amazing.
So 40 years old, I had no idea my father was also basically an atheist as well. No idea.
That is amazing. Who are you closest to, your father or your mother?
Probably my mother.
Oh, okay.
And I have very religious brothers. One is an evangelical in Iowa, and another one just finished military service. He's married to a Catholic Filipino, and they're still very religious. So I'm the odd duck in the family.
And are you absolutely convinced that there is no God?
Well, I like to think that I am always going to be open to new evidence.
Oh, so you leave over the possibility that there is
so
a God.
would that put me more in the agnostic camp? Maybe. So yeah, I'd like to say that, yes, absolutely. I'd like to
So you're not
keep
like
my head open.
So you're not a true atheist then, because most of the atheists I speak to are absolutely convinced that there is no God.
Is that right? They wouldn't be swayed by anything to convince them otherwise?
That's the impression they tried to give.
Well, I guess I'm different from that.
Where do you get your values from?
I get my values from the humanist tradition that I have acquired since coming out as an atheist, and look at the values of the humanist teachings that came out of the Renaissance period, as well as more recent writings and discussions. The Humanist Manifesto, you probably are familiar with. Those are quite a few set of values that have evolved over the 20th century that align pretty well with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that the United Nations adopted.
I'm black and a little slow. Give me an example of what are their values? Give me an example of the humanist values.
Humanist values would include a sanctity for life, a desire to allow everyone equal opportunity to fulfill their capacity as a human being, and to express their own freedom of conscience, freedom of opportunity, freedom of living their lives. Very much a libertarian life would fit very well with the humanist.
So we say a
values.
sanctity for life. They don't believe in abortions and stuff like that.
That's a question that a lot of us are agnostic about, since we don't know when life begins. So
Right. So you don't support abortion.
Absolutely not. I don't know anyone who does.
You don't believe that a woman should have an abortion.
I think that's an individual decision they have to make.
But you personally don't believe that they should do it.
I would never have an abortion, but I'm a male, so.
I mean, but you would think that a woman wouldn't do it either, right? I mean, are you married?
Yes.
And if your wife woke up one morning, somehow or another she got pregnant by you, you were sleeping, didn't know what was happening, and she said, "Oh, I'm pregnant," and I want to have an abortion. Would you stop her from doing it, from having it?
Well, since she'd be my partner, we would have to have a discussion about that, but I wouldn't be dogmatic about it. I wouldn't say, absolutely, you cannot do that. If there's any reason we can't. It would have to be looking at the situation. How is this going to impact it? How can we support it? What are the reasons to do this abortion versus maybe sending out for adoption? That's a hard hypothetical, since I can't imagine that happening.
If she said, well, we can't support it, or it may interfere with my career, because that's the reason most women have abortions, would you say okay to that? Would you allow her to do it, to have it?
I would probably strongly argue that we should give it away for adoption if we really couldn't support it.
And one last question about the value thing. You say now you get your values from the humanist ideas and what they're teaching. Where did you get your values from prior to that?
Well, from my parents, like everyone else does. I got it from my parents. I grew up in American society where I adopted those values.
And did you agree with their values?
Most of them I did. Some of them I didn't.
Do you agree with them now?
Well, their religious values, I obviously would diverge from how I was raised now.
So you don't like the idea of loving your neighbor as yourself?
Oh, I agree with that very much.
Do you like the idea of judge not lest you be judged?
I don't know what that means.
Mean that if you judge me, that is going to come back on you.
I think we have a responsibility to provide a judgment of the world around us, so I guess I don't agree with that one.
Oh, okay. When I come back, I want to know why you guys attacking Christmas. Why can't we have the freedom to just relax and enjoy our Christmas without having to fight against you guys. All right. 888-775-3773. 888-77 Jesse. Stuart Beckman is with me. Back in a moment.
Just hear those sleigh bells jingling, ring, ting, tingling too. Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you. Outside the snow is falling and friends are calling you. Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together.
Stuart Beckman is with me. I am Jesse Lee Peterson. 888-775-3773. He is the chairman for the Greater Los Angeles chapter of Americans United for Separation of Church and State, and the national affiliate director for Americans Atheist, Inc. Let me ask, Stuart, we just had this recent shooting in Connecticut.
It's terrible.
Do you support the Second Amendment?
Yes, of course.
So we have the right to bear arms.
Yes.
And so what do you think about the liberal, godless Democrats, including the fallen Messiah, Barack Obama, using this incident to take away our rights to bear arms? How do you feel about that?
Well, I think the question that needs to be asked is how do we make sure that we can raise our families in safe and nurturing environments without the threat of gunmen coming in and blowing them away and destroying our families?
And what is the best way to do that?
Well, I'm not sure I know. I'm not an
How
expert
about
on the
owning
Second
guns?
Amendment. Right.
It's very clear. And we had guns. This would not be happening.
Is that clear?
Yeah.
It's not clear to me.
It's
Okay.
not.
No, it's not.
Are you safer with the gun or without one?
I'm not sure.
You're
As
not
I
sure.
said, this isn't my area of expertise.
You need an expert to tell you whether or not you're safer with a gun or without one?
Maybe so. It's from what I heard, it's very complicated.
So you don't have the common sense to know that you're safer with a gun? How do you protect your family if you don't have a gun?
I protect my family through raising them in the right values and make sure that that they have proper ethics and values.
No,
in their
but
lives.
let's say that a gunman is coming in on you. He's loaded with a gun.
Well, I probably want a gun then to protect myself.
And so that's like common sense then, right?
That's common sense, sure.
So you don't need an expert to tell you that.
That'd be right.
Okay. What's this attack upon Christians and Christmas by way of the atheists is I don't quite understand it. I've interviewed several of them, and the only thing that I can notice is that atheists are very insecure, and they don't want and they don't want anything around them to remind them that there is a God. And down in Santa Monica, California, they for the last 59 years now, it would have been 60 years had not this attack happened from the atheists. They've been putting up a nativity scene there for 59 years. And it's for the children, it's for the community. It's a way of Christians recognizing Christ as a group, as a family. Why would you guys attack that? Because now they can't put it up. The court has agreed with you.
I think you're mistaken on that. It is up today.
But it's not, no, it's not up. They have a live nativity scene there.
They actually have a lot where they have put back, put their dioramas back up.
But it's not in the Pacific Palisades Park. It's not there.
No, it's on private land now.
Right. You guys took, and they've been putting it on at Palisades Park for the last 50 years or so. I mean, 59 years. Had you guys noticed that it was there prior to the last couple of years?
When you say you guys, you're presuming that I
atheists.
speak for the atheist
Right.
community. I'm not sure.
You agree
I do.
with them on that, right? That they forced the Christians to have it removed.
What the city of Santa Monica did was that they decided to stop offering a public forum during the winter display in Palisades Park.
But it was because the atheists complained about it, took them to court
They
concerning
didn't complain about it.
the
In fact,
nativity-
atheists have
the Christmas-
participated in it.
concerning the Christmas display. Do you agree with the atheists on doing that, taking that kind of action?
What I agree with is that the government needs to remain neutral on matters religious.
But let me ask, do you agree with the atheists that they took these people to court and forced them to remove the Christmas
That's not what
celebration
happened.
from the let me give you you're not up on what how all this came about.
I'm
in
quite
Santa
up
Monica?
on it, and
What do you think?
there was no lawsuit by atheists
What
to
do
get
you
it off the.
What do you think
park.
happened?
What I think
I'll give you
happened
the
is that
background.
the Santa Monica City Council was responding to their own constituents, asking to make sure that this winter display was an open public forum available to all worldviews and viewpoints.
It's
And
not a winter display.
they put a lottery system in. And 2 years ago, when that lottery system in, most of those spots went to atheists. And so, in fact, it was the Christians that got upset, not the atheists. The atheists were happy to participate in the legal lottery. The Christians then came back and said, this is unfair. You've taken away our lot. We need to have special privilege to have our dioramas in place. And the city council looked at that, talked to the city attorney, and the city attorney said, this is just going to cause a lot of divisiveness, a lot of expense to us. Perhaps we should get out of the Christian diorama business altogether. And so they just discontinued it. The city council did that. There was no lawsuit against atheists.
It was in response to the atheists complaining about it. But why not find
Again, atheists were participating in the lottery.
Why didn't the atheists find their own little spot and do their thing and wish the Christians well in what they were doing?
Find our own spot. Our own spot would be city property like Palisades Park.
So are you in agreement with the atheists that they did this?
I'm in
You're
agreement
not
that the atheists participated in the lottery system. I am also in agreement with the city council deciding that they wanted to get out of this divisive business and try to create a more, act on behalf of the full community, not just one or two factions.
Do you agree with me that the Christians should have a right to set up a nativity scene in the park, the Palisades Park? Should they have a right to do that?
Christians should have that right only if every other group has the same right. It's a public forum. I am totally in favor of public forums.
Did anyone try to prevent other groups from doing that?
Yes, the Christians filed suit against Santa Monica when the atheists won the lottery and won 10 of the 14 spots that were allocated.
The atheists who filed for this position in the park were atheists from out of town. They were not from Santa Monica, California.
That's not correct.
That is correct. It's absolutely true. They came from other areas.
They were supported by atheists from other areas, but the ones who filed for it, because it was required by the city, were living in Santa Monica.
You wrote an article, an opinion article for the LA Times called Angry Atheists. What about angry Christians? What do you mean by that?
Well, actually, editorial titles are decided by the paper, but
okay.
I think it fits the article I wrote just fine.
And how do you think? How does it fit?
Well, because it was a response to an earlier editorial in the LA Times complaining that, as you apparently are, that the atheists are very angry and they're being very hostile and they're attacking Christians and attacking Christmas. And that was what the point of the early editorial is. I came back and said, that's not quite the situation here. The situation here was that the city council was trying to accommodate all worldviews, and the Christians came back and said, no, we want our privilege that we've had for 60 years here. We want you to keep it.
But they didn't say, no, you could not be there. But they didn't want you guys
They
to
said,
impose.
if we're going to create dissension in our community, we're just going to stop doing this altogether.
No, they did not want you guys to impose yourselves upon them.
Who's they?
The Christians. The
Christians didn't want the atheists?
Right. They didn't want you to come there and say, hey, you got to move over. You got to have to give us some space here.
Well, that's how it works in a pluralistic society. That's how it works with equal rights for everybody.
Are you happy with this?
I think it was the right decision.
Are you, as a man, are you happy with this?
As a man?
No, as a person, as a man.
I am satisfied that the city council in Santa Monica did the best decision they could.
Back in a moment, folks.
Okay. Money. What you think, what you feel now, what you know, to be real.
Okay, folks, welcome back. Taking your phone calls at 888-77-53-773, 888-77. Jesse Stewart Beckman is with me, chairman for the Greater Los Angeles chapter of Americans United for Separation of Church and State. Stuart, you have a website you want to give out here?
Yeah, our
Okay.
chapter website is at au-losangeles.org.
I asked you quickly about God, but I didn't ask about the devil. Do you believe that there's a devil?
No, I don't believe there's a devil.
Do you believe that there's good and evil?
Yes, I believe there is good and evil.
And where does good come from?
Good comes from our evolutionary upbringing of living together as a community and what makes that work.
And,
Obviously, that doesn't work for you. That's okay.
and where does evil come from?
It comes from those who don't fit into the social community very well.
So if there's not, do you think that there is a spirit of evil?
No.
What causes people to become evil? Or some people?
It's hard to say. We don't know, but there's indications that difficulties in upbringing or certain irritations in the community, or some people, I don't seem to just be genetically wired that way for whatever reason. It depends on how you define evil too.
So you don't know what causes evil.
Right. I don't know if there is a cause.
Do you ever wonder about that? Like, why is it that
Oh, yes.
some people appear to be good and some appear to be evil? And do you wonder where did that come from?
Oh, absolutely.
You
Yes.
do. But
That's
no
a major
answers to that?
Well, I looked at the answers that were given by many different religious faiths, and none of them I didn't find any of them very satisfying. I didn't find satisfying the Christian belief that good comes from a sky god that tells us what good and evil is, and then we either listen to him or not. That really didn't work for me. That didn't make a whole lot of sense.
I want to give you a little background on this nativity scene down in Santa Monica, California. Excuse me. Last Christmas time, a tiny group of out-of-town atheists used new rules to corner 1 1/3 quarter of the 2 displays blocked in December to cut the nativity scene down from 14 to 3 booth.
Yes, that was the lottery system we've been talking about.
And you think that's fair to the Christians?
It is, because they have an equal chance to get any of those 14 spots every year. Next year could be completely different.
Do you have a conscience?
Do I have a conscience? I take responsibility for the world around me, if that's what you mean.
Do you have a conscience?
Oh, separate from my body? Is that what you mean, like a soul?
Do you know what a conscience is?
I thought I did.
But you're not sure?
I'm wondering here in this conversation, what do you mean by it?
The ability to see and know right from wrong.
I hear that as, do I have an ethical grounding? Yes, I do.
You do. And do you feel any sense of what the atheists are doing to the children at Christmas time, those who appreciate the nativity scenes around the country? Do you have any sympathy for them at all?
I think what you're asking me is, do I think kids
Or is
should
this
enjoy
just-
nativity scenes?
Or is
Absolutely.
this just a selfish thing for the atheists because they are not of God, so they don't have a conscience?
Well, gee, that's a leading question, isn't it?
And that's what... Is
Look,
that how,
the nativity
how it
scenes are
works?
still there. I want to remind you, they are there. They are
But
simply
it's
on
not-
private property.
It's live. It has
and
to
they're
be done.
available.
But it's not at the Palisades
It's not at
Park,
one
where
particular
they have
block in
a
the
lot of
city.
space and a whole lot of folks.
You know,
went by to
Palisades
enjoy
Park
it.
is one of the most beautiful places
I
in
know.
Santa Monica to see the ocean. And when those dioramas are there, they're all 14 feet high. They cover a quarter mile there. You can't see the ocean. A lot of non-Christians look at that and go, this is really offensive. This is destroying what I thought my city was guaranteeing me to have in my own city.
The atheists are not afraid that God is going to get them for this.
No. No, not a big threat.
Do you believe in the separation of church and state?
I do, passionately, yes.
And where did you get that idea from? How did that come about for you as an atheist?
Well, I don't know if it came out of my atheism at all. It more came out of learning the history of this country and the founding of the Republic and the American Revolution and the whole creation of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution that developed out of that. To me, my government and what it stands for is one of the most precious things that all of us Americans, you and I both have. And a big part of that is government neutrality in church matters.
This is my last segment with you. You were scheduled. May I hold you over for one more segment?
Sure.
Oh, okay. And we'll take some calls.
Okay.
888-77-JESSE. We're coming straight back to the phones. Merry Christmas, folks. Back in a moment. I want to, 888-77-JESSE. My guest is Stuart Beckman. He is chairman for the Greater Los Angeles chapter of Americans United for Separation of Church and State and the national affiliate director for Americans Atheist, Inc. I want to read a couple of texts to you and Facebook comments and get your response, and then we'll take some calls. I have a text here that says, the nativity scene was there for almost 60 years, unchallenged, and the atheists exploited a technicality and caught the Christians off guard by all of a sudden applying for the same spot. Where is the atheist and compassion in that?
There are a lot of errors in that statement. For instance, it was not unchallenged for the full 60 years. I happen to know that in the early 1970s, American Atheist Inc. actually had challenged the nativity scenes at that point. So it was at least that far back that it had created contention in the community.
Herman Bradley on my Facebook page, facebook.com, says that, funny, the atheists aren't protesting en masse against being given a day off with pay from work for Christmas holiday, isn't it? It's funny that the atheists are not protesting en masse against
being paid for
being given a paid day off for Christmas.
Well, a lot of people don't get paid off for that holiday at all.
Are you off work for Christmas?
I am.
Do you get paid for it while you're off?
I do.
Are you protesting that?
No, it's a business decision.
But
it's not my government.
But since you don't celebrate Christmas at all, it would imply that you're in agreement with Christmas if you accepted a paycheck. Why don't you say, okay, I can't come to work, but don't pay me for it?
Would you do that?
If I was an atheist?
If there was an atheist holiday there, would you say, don't pay me for this day because I'm not an atheist?
No, we're talking about Christmas holiday. You're against Christmas. But,
like, for instance, do you get paid on Hanukkah? I mean, would you say, I'm not a Jew, so I'm not going to,
Well, my question
I can't
is,
accept this?
why is it that you're not against accepting that paycheck on Christmas?
You know, there were a lot of years when Congress met on Christmas Day.
That paycheck is given to you all in the name of Jesus.
I get paid, what? I get paid on a weekly basis, so it doesn't really matter what days I'm on or off.
Does the Constitution... does the Constitution say anything about a separation between church and state?
Of course it does. Yes.
Where?
I believe it's Article 8 that requires no religious test be taken for any elective office, and then there's the First Amendment that requires that Congress not pass any law respecting the establishment of religion.
Where is that? I don't hear a separation between church
you
and
want
state.
that particular phrase?
Yes.
No, that particular phrase, church-state separation, is not in the Constitution.
So
the concept
how did you guys come up with that then?
What, do you think I pulled it out of my butt here and
it
made it up?
It seemed to me was an invented idea because even though I'm black and slow, I don't find it in the Constitution anywhere, and you can't point out anywhere in the Constitution where it's listed.
Just did, First Amendment.
That is.
Well, what does the First Amendment mean if not church-state separation?
That doesn't say anything about a separation between church and state, though.
What do you think that means?
So it's not in there. It's just being invented, right?
It was invented prior to the Constitution and the First Amendment being passed.
It's invented by the God haters.
If you think Roger Williams, Puritan, Massachusetts, was a God hater, I guess I can't disagree.
But the point is, it's not in the Constitution. We can't agree on that.
My point is, it is in the Constitution.
Are you an honest man?
I'd like to think so, yes.
Are you?
Yes.
Are you?
Sure.
Okay. Rick out of Hampton, Virginia. Welcome to the show. You're on with Stuart Beckman.
Man, how you doing, Mr. Beckman? How you doing, Justice?
All is well, sir.
Man, I mean, this is, you know how a lot of people say they want church, they separate the church and state. You know, if a lot of people will have God in their hearts, that would cause people to do what's right. And that's how the world be peaceful if people would follow the word of God. Now, atheists, I mean, I know, I mean, from my experience, when I talk to atheist people, you know, that don't believe in God, most time they had but not all cases, they have a bad experience, or either somebody mistreated them very badly to turn them from God. But I can assure y'all one thing, that God loves you all, and he wants y'all to turn back to him.
God love the atheist?
Yes, he does.
And why? They don't want God's love. Is that right? You don't believe there's a God, so you don't need God's love, right?
Doesn't mean much to us, right?
Right. His love doesn't mean a thing to you.
Right.
Amazing.
Right.
So they don't want God's love, and God is not going to impose his love on anyone who doesn't want it.
And I agree with you, too, Jeff. You're absolutely right. But, you know, when I witness to him, I always leave that door open that God wants y'all to come to him. Don't blame him for whatever bad experience that happened in your life. And that was due to sin.
Yeah.
Why they mistreat you all. If they would have been following God, they would have been loving y'all the way God instructs us to love each other.
You're absolutely right. Thank you, Rick. But since you don't believe in God, that's not even up for discussion.
I'm not sure how to respond to it. Yeah, that's right.
What's going to happen to you, or what do you think or believe going to happen to you once you drop your body, once you die?
My body will be consumed and decomposed.
That's about it? How about your soul? Do you believe you have a soul?
I haven't seen any evidence of that yet.
You think you're just a body and that's it?
I think so.
And so you think you're just a body and not a soul. There's nothing else about you.
That doesn't mean I understand this whole process of being alive and life and all that. I don't understand that. Again, that's not my expertise. But there's obviously something different that separates me from this sheet of paper. There's some life force, but I don't know what that is. I don't know that I would call it a soul.
I'm under the impression that you're not like a real diehard atheist. You're not a good representation of the atheist, because atheists that I know and I've interviewed, they're like jealous of the Christians, and they're hateful. They have no love. You seem to be somewhat. Well, you could possibly be turned around.
The caller, I could be turned around. I told you that I would be open to evidence down the road. And the caller below, we just heard from, talked about how a lot of atheists have very bad experiences growing up if they came from religious families. And that's absolutely true. And there's a lot of atheists that have a lot of anger out there. Absolutely.
Let's see here. Let's go to California and talk to the Bible Go-To guy. Oh, Bible Go-To guy, hold on. You can take the call.
Yes, sir.
Back, right? Hold on, Bible Go-To guy. We'll hold Stuart over just for your questions, and then we'll come to you.
Sure.
All right, back in a moment. Manhood Hour is coming up in the next hour. You do not want to miss that. Manhood Hour is coming up. Stuart, give out your website again. I appreciate you staying over for another short segment here.
The Americans United Greater Los Angeles chapter website is au-losangeles, all no spaces, .org.
I have to say, folks, that Stuart is not a true atheist.
I suppose I should be upset at such a rash statement.
He's just a man that lacks understanding, like most Christians, about Christ, what it really means to live that way. So you're too nice to be a real atheist. I think the impact that your parents put up on you is still there somewhat, and you're looking for some answers.
Well, I love my parents, and they were raised as Christians, and I have to respect that.
Bible Go-To guy, welcome to the show. You're on with Stuart Beckman.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Beckman,
yes,
I've
sir?
always asked this question of atheists, and none have been able to answer it yet.
Because of short on time, I would go directly to the question.
That's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
So The question is, now you made me forget. Oh, my goodness. The question is,
this is a question that you've always asked atheists, and they didn't answer right correctly.
And they're never able to answer it. The morals, the question of morals. Okay. Where do morals come from? People or God?
I believe morals come from people.
Okay, so if morals come from people, then the follow-up question, if I may, is if they come from people, then if people agree to, as they do, to murder people, other people, like for human sacrifice, or they do it for cannibalism or whatever, and that majority agree that that's the moral standard, is that okay with you?
Well, you're describing things that actually happened historically.
In other words, if my morals, if there's only two people on the earth, myself and Stuart Beckman,
yes,
and I say, Stuart, if you disagree with me, my morals say I should kill you. Now,
and I would disagree.
If both of us are men and we don't have any higher standard than each of our own standards, then how are you to judge that my standard is less than yours? My standard says I should do this. Your standards are diametrically opposed. Where do we go to for the judge? Who's to be the judge over us?
Well, if there's only two of us, each set of values are equally weighted.
Right, and if my values say that I could kill you whenever you disagree with me,
and my values say I'm going to stop you from killing me.
Well, why? Because I have a right to my own set of morals.
You certainly would, and I would have a right to my morals, and so I would do everything to honor my morals, while I presume you would do everything to try to kill me.
But who is wrong and who is right?
I don't think either would be wrong in that situation.
Are we both right?
I would really question your sanity to have such values, but I don't know that makes it wrong for you.
Exactly.
The fact, if there was only one person on this world, we wouldn't have ethics, we wouldn't have morals. Morals and ethics come because we live in a community, because there are more than one person out there.